Our movie today begins with a squirrel named Surly. He starts talking and introduces himself more, saying that the most important thing in his life is food. He also introduces us to his friend, a mouse named Buddy, whom he says is his best friend and that he is mute. At that moment, Surly and Buddy notice a nut cart nearby. They get very excited and decide to steal it. Meanwhile, we move to the city park, where we see the leader of the animals, a raccoon named Raccoon. We see him collecting food from the animals and storing it inside a tree as they're preparing for hibernation. Suddenly, a bird arrives and tells Raccoon that it saw a nut cart parked at the entrance of the park. Raccoon sends a squirrel named Andy to steal the nuts from the cart and tells her that the squirrel Grayson will go with her to help. We notice that Grayson is very arrogant and self-centered. Before they leave, Raccoon warns them about Surly, saying that he causes a lot of trouble. Next, we go to the owner of the nut cart, who is seen with his friend watching a bank. We learn that they are planning to rob it. At the same time, a young girl comes to the nut vendor asking for some nuts. He tells her they're closed, then shoves a bunch of nuts into her mouth, which angers her, and she walks away. Meanwhile, Surly is watching the nut cart and explains his plan to Buddy about how to steal the nuts. By coincidence, he notices that Andy and Grayson are also coming to steal the cart, so he and Buddy rush to beat them to it. At that moment, the little girl returns with a police officer, angry at the vendor for how he treated her. When Andy sees Buddy trying to sneak up to the cart, she climbs the tree to reach Surly. In the process, she accidentally knocks over the bucket Surly was going to use in his plan. Surly gets angry and tells her to leave, saying that he and Buddy saw the cart first. But Andy proposes they work together to steal the nuts and tells Surly that he's a smart squirrel. However, she also tells him he never helps the other animals in the park. Surly ignores her, uses one of his inventions, and jumps from the tree, successfully reaching the cart. Suddenly, the vendor's dog, named Precious, spots Surly and chases him. He tricks her into cutting the gas pipe and disabling the brakes, causing the cart to start moving. Andy quickly reacts, jumps, uses a bucket and rope, and tries to stop the cart. But the cart speeds up, enters the park, flips over, and catches fire. At that moment, Grayson arrives and tries to help, but the flames reach the gas pipe, causing the cart to speed up even more. Grayson tries to close the pipe and asks Surly to help, but Surly ignores him, grabs a sack of nuts, and jumps off the cart. The cart continues speeding towards the tree where the animals stored their food for winter. When Raccoon and the animals see it coming, they run away in fear. The cart crashes into the tree, is launched into a windmill, and explodes, burning the tree down completely. Raccoon and all the animals are devastated by what happened. Then, two moles appear and capture Surly. Andy tries to explain everything to Raccoon, but Surly just laughs and mocks them because their entire winter food supply has burned. Everyone becomes angry with Surly and believes that his presence is a danger to the park. They agree he must be banished immediately, and Raccoon likes the idea and decides to expel Surly. As Surly leaves the park, Andy tries to comfort him, but he doesn't care and walks away. He even tells Buddy not to follow him, then leaves alone. A little later, Surly arrives in the city. We see him fall onto some wires, then hit the ground. He keeps running from place to place until he enters a side alley. Meanwhile, Andy feels sad for him, and she's also very upset because their hibernation food storage was completely destroyed. At night, we see Surly sitting inside a trash can, and he gets very scared when he hears a strange sound approaching. He panics and hits the source of the sound, but then realizes it's Buddy. They hug, and Surly seems very upset, telling Buddy that this place is then leaves. As he walks away, he hears another noise and thinks it's Buddy, but then gets terrified when he sees a group of terrifying street rats approaching. Surly runs as fast as he can, trying to escape, and climbs to a rooftop. Unfortunately, the rats surround him and are about to attack. Luckily, Buddy intervenes, throws a flower pot at the rats, scares them off, and rescues Surly from the danger. Squirrel goes to open the pigeon cages and has them scatter to distract the rats. He grabs Batty and escapes by clinging to a large pigeon. However, the pigeon can't carry both of them and crashes to the ground. At that moment, Searle appears very upset. He's starving and can't find any food. Suddenly, Searle becomes overjoyed when he realizes he has landed next to a nut shop. Excited, he tries sneaking into the store from different spots, but fails each time and even gets electrocuted. Luckily, Batty sees a taxi stop in front of the store and sneaks in along with two men who are entering. At that point, we discover that the people inside the shop are actually the gang planning to rob the bank. They welcome their leader, who has just been released from prison. Meanwhile, Batty returns to Searle, signals to him, and they sneak in through the top of the door. But they are shocked to find the place filled with traps. The gang leader is impressed with the location because it's very close to the bank they plan to rob. Suddenly, one of the traps snaps shut on Searle's tail, and he screams in pain. The dog Precious sees him and starts barking. One of the gang members uses a dog whistle to quiet her, but the sound irritates the gang leader's assistant. Searle notices everything happening. Then, the gang heads down to the basement to start digging. Meanwhile, back in the park, the animals decide to send Andy and Grayson on a mission to the city to search for food. As they cross the street, Andy seems annoyed by Grayson's presence. Suddenly, a rat attacks them and steals Andy's bag. Grayson chases after the rat, gets into a scuffle, and ends up hanging onto a train. He manages to retrieve the bag and tosses it to Andy, but unfortunately, the two get separated. The next day, we see Searle and Batty after they've eaten all the cheese from the traps. Searle collapses to the ground, and Precious picks up his scent and starts looking for him. He hides inside a cashew machine. As Precious continues barking, one of the gang members uses the whistle again. This time, the gang leader's assistant gets annoyed and throws the whistle away. Precious then finds Searle, breaks the machine, and both of them get burned and thrown out of the store. Batty runs after Searle, and the two escape quickly. After what happened, Searle decides to search for the whistle and eventually finds it. But he drops it. Andy picks it up, and Searle is surprised to see her. He asks her to return the whistle, but she refuses. From his behavior, she realizes he found food and that the whistle has something to do with it. While they're talking, Searle notices the gang leader entering the store and leaving the door open. He and Batty quickly sneak in. They find a massive stash of nuts in the basement and are overwhelmed by the sight. They go down the stairs, amazed at the amount of food. Suddenly, they hear the gang members coming out of the tunnel they're digging, so Searle and Batty hide. They see the gang has created a hole that connects to the side street to remove the debris. Unfortunately, Precious enters the basement, spots Searle and Batty, and chases after them. They use the lift to escape through the hole, but Searle can't make it out in time. Just as Precious is about to catch him, Andy shows up and demands that he give her some of the basement food in exchange for the whistle. Since Searle wants the whistle, he agrees to give her half the stash. He takes the whistle and uses it to scare Precious. She becomes terrified by the sound and promises to do whatever Searle wants. When Andy enters the basement, she's stunned by the amount of nuts there. As Batty explores the place, he throws one of the explosives near the wall. Andy tells Searle that Raccoon and the other animals will be thrilled by all this food. She rushes off to tell them. That night, Andy returns to the animals and tells them she found a huge food stash, enough for everyone. She explains that they need to cooperate with Searle to be able to steal the food. At that moment, Raccoon steps in and tells her that the beavers will join her to dig a tunnel and retrieve the stash. Then, Raccoon's assistant, Mole, shows up and explains to everyone that they'll bring Searle along, but once they get the food, they'll abandon him and give him nothing. The next day, we see Andy, Mole, and the beavers arriving at the store. Suddenly, Searle appears and figures out where they plan to dig. He tells them they can't use the main door because it's usually locked. After a while, the beavers manage to dig a large hole, but the wall is slowing them down. Then, Precious exits the basement, and Searle goes to her. He's surprised the door is open, and quickly shuts it before anyone notices. In the basement, we see the beavers moving bricks from the wall, which causes a spark that ignites the nearby explosives. As soon as Surly and Buddy notice, they try to get rid of it, but unfortunately it explodes, blasts out of the pit, and escapes. At that moment, Precious rushes to Surly, terrified, and tells him that the gang leader will kill her because of the explosion. Surly decides to help her and not abandon her. When the gang comes down to the basement to investigate the explosion, they see Precious holding Surly, assuming he's dead, and conclude he was the cause. The gang leader gets furious and orders his men to seal the pit with cement. They throw Surly into a dumpster. Once he gets out, Surly asks the beavers to dig another tunnel. Then he leaves them and heads up to the surface. Meanwhile, Andy follows him and reveals the truth that Raccoon and Mole plan to abandon him once the heist is over. Surly tells her he doesn't care anymore and that he'll go through with the robbery and take his share. He realizes Raccoon has been manipulating everyone for his own benefit. But Andy is upset by what he says. She doesn't believe him and walks away. Later, we see Raccoon getting angry when he sees Andy distributing food to the other animals. Mole tells him that Andy is the best animal he's ever known, always helping everyone in the park. He also informs him that Surly managed to gain control over Precious, and that if they keep working with him, the heist will succeed. Raccoon grows irritated and, together with Mole, starts plotting to sabotage the operation. Then we see Surly sitting on the roof when he hears a strange sound. He spots Mole placing a water hose into the new tunnel. Suddenly, Grayson shows up, terrified, but lights up when he sees Surly. He hugs him and acts wildly. At that moment, Mole opens the valve to flood the beavers. Surly rushes to close it, but the valve breaks, and the beavers are about to drown. Luckily, the water flows into the gang's tunnel instead. Elsewhere, Raccoon's bird assistant arrives and starts attacking Surly. Precious steps in, pounces on him, and grabs him, but he manages to escape. Meanwhile, Surly sneaks into the store, heads down to the basement, uses the lift to pull the beavers out, and tries to save them. When Grayson arrives, he and Precious chase Mole to stop him. Once the beavers come to, they realize that Grayson is the one who saved them. On the other side, Surly manages to catch Mole and demands to know why he tried to ruin the heist. Under pressure from a flashlight, Mole admits that Raccoon ordered him to do it, wanting to maintain his control over the animals in the park. Before Surly leaves, Mole insists no one will believe him anyway. Surly goes to Andy and the beavers on the roof and tells them Mole was acting on Raccoon's orders. But unfortunately, no one believes him. In fact, they suspect he's the one who opened the valve and are certain Grayson saved their lives. Even Andy doubts his story, saying no one saw him trying to save them, not even Buddy. This frustrates Surly and he snaps, saying Buddy lost his voice and is just a dumb rat. Hurt by Surly's words, Buddy refuses to go with him and feels deeply saddened. Surly, angry and alone, decides to go back to the basement. Unfortunately, one of the gang members spots him and traps him in a cage, preparing to kill him. Suddenly, Lana, the gang leader's partner, arrives, notices the tunnel, and realizes they're planning to rob the bank. The gang leader tells her this will be his last heist. He then goes to his men to prepare the bank explosion. Before she leaves, Lana secretly frees Surly. Surly grabs the bags of nuts and tries to escape, but the rats pounce on him and catch him. At that moment, Raccoon appears, now revealed to be their leader. He tells Surly that everything he's doing is to keep control over the park. He even threatens to kill Buddy, Andy, and Grayson, because they're starting to resist his authority. Just then, the gang detonates the bomb, causing a massive explosion that scatters Raccoon and the rats. Surly seizes the opportunity and heads back down to the base. The gang manages to break into the bank, stealing all the money and replacing it with bags of nuts. Meanwhile, Andy, Grayson, and their companions are inside the tunnel, running quickly while using the money truck. As soon as the truck reaches the gang leader, the gang is shocked to find Andy and the moles there, and a fight breaks out. The mice also arrive, and Surly starts leaping from place to place while being chased, eventually falling into the traps. Meanwhile, Andy and her team manage to escape and run away. By coincidence, they run into Mole and Raccoon, who tells them that one of the gang's trucks contains the bags of nuts. He asks Andy, Buddy, and the others to enter that truck. As soon as they get inside, Raccoon seizes the opportunity and locks them in. The gang then drives away with the truck. Mole quickly follows them to help, and Surly and Grayson hang on to a flying kite nearby and follow the truck. Raccoon gets angry and follows them, grabbing onto another one of the gang's trucks. When a gang member checks inside the truck to make sure the money is there, He finds the nut bags instead. He realizes that the boss and his assistant have tricked them. In truth, the gang leader and his assistant had loaded the real money into a different truck and are now trying to escape from the rest of the gang members who start chasing them. At the same time, Raccoon's bird ally attacks Surly and tries to kill him, but Surly takes advantage of the moment and throws him off. Back to Mole and Grayson. They open the truck's door to free Andy and the others. But Raccoon follows them, grabs Surly, and tries to throw him out of the truck. Grayson holds onto him from the other side, and luckily Mole arrives and reveals to everyone that Raccoon has been lying and using them all along. Raccoon loses control and throws Surly out of the truck along with the nut bag. Surly becomes overjoyed when he sees the police cars arriving. Meanwhile, Andy and the others continue chasing Raccoon, who jumps into the money truck, followed closely by Andy. We see the police chasing the gang and finally surrounding them at the bridge. Surly jumps out of a police car and rushes to the gang's truck. The gang leader and his assistant take advantage of the chaos to move the real money into the nut truck. Surly finds Andy unconscious in the truck after being hit by Raccoon. Unfortunately, the assistant has rigged the truck with explosives and sent it speeding toward the police. However, it veers off course, gets stuck on the bridge, and eventually falls. Just in time, Surly manages to grab Andy and jump out before the truck explodes. Sadly, the explosion causes the bridge to crack and collapse, and Surly, Andy, and the gang's truck fall into the water. The nut bags float out of the truck and spread across the surface of the water. The truck is about to go over a waterfall when suddenly a tree trunk stops it. The gang leader tries to take the money out of the truck to escape, but his assistant betrays him and tries to push the tree trunk to drown him. Suddenly, Raccoon resurfaces from the water and attacks Surly, attempting to drag him down with him. But Buddy throws a bag of money at Raccoon, knocking him off. When Surly realizes the assistant is trying to push the trunk, he blows the dog whistle he has. A dog jumps on Raccoon and knocks him into the water. Unfortunately, the trunk breaks, and Raccoon reappears, grabbing Surly and trying to pull him down. At that moment, Buddy, Andy, and the others try to pull Surly to safety. Sadly, Surly lets go of the whistle and falls off the waterfall with Raccoon. Meanwhile, the other part of the tree trunk and the nut bags are swept by the water toward the city. After a while, the current reaches the park, bringing with it Andy, Buddy, Grayson, and loads of nut bags. The animals rejoice at the sight of so much food. As for the gang leader, the police catch him after his girlfriend Lana reports him. At that moment, Precious the pug leaves him and walks into the park. She finds Buddy, who looks very sad, and asks him to come with her to Surly. Surly has reached the park but appears dead. Buddy and Precious are devastated and begin to cry. Just as they are about to leave, they are shocked to find Surly still alive. They cheer and hug him with overwhelming joy. Precious says goodbye to him and tells him she'll wait for him at the nut shop. Then Andy arrives, overjoyed that he's alive, and tells him the animals need to know that he was the one who saved them. But Surly believes it's better for Grayson to remain their hero, and decides instead to continue finding food for them. He jumps off with Buddy, inviting Andy to join. Finally, Surly succeeds in saving all the park animals. After learning the true meaning of teamwork and friendship,